Hey everyone, welcome back to TEK Utah. In this video I want to show you a program that will help you understand how the storage on your hard drive is being used. Some of you might be running into issues where you're running out of storage, you're not sure what's using up that storage, and how to easily find it. And it can be pretty intimidating when you are dealing with a file system or structure that you're not familiar with. You come down here in your file browser and you go to your C drive, you got all these folders here, and you're not sure where things are being stored. Obviously you got your user folders, and trying to find stuff can be a little intimidating. There's a program that I love using that helps to kind of visualize and organize things in a way that helps you find where things are being stored. This program is called WinDirStat. It's kind of an odd name, I know, but this program is a lifesaver for me, especially when troubleshooting clients' computers and they're running out of hard drive space. We got to figure out where that space is being stored and how to clear it up. So this program is actually one of the programs that you can install from Ninite. We've talked about that in one of our previous videos. Ninite.com. It's over here. You just select this along with any other programs you want, download the installer and run the installer, and it installs it and creates a shortcut on the desktop for you. So when you open this program, it's going to ask you, what do you want to scan? And for the purposes of this video, we're just going to scan the C drive. So if you select that, it will automatically select individual drives. And then from here, you can actually select individual folders as well. Like if you don't want to scan the whole hard drive, maybe you just want to scan a specific folder, you can select that as well. So once you have that drive selected, we're going to focus on the C drive, and this is typical for most people. We're going to select OK. And what it does is it sets to task scanning the hard drive and looking at all the files, all the folders, and figuring out how big each file is, where it's stored, and how to kind of lay that out. So we're going to open this up full window here so I can explain this to you. Up here in this corner, up in the upper left corner, we have the tree structure of what it just scanned. Over here on the right, in the upper right corner, are the file types, and organized by which file type is taking up the most space. So at the top we have DLL files. These are dynamic libraries, and there's a lot of them. As you can see, there's 36,000 of them. They take up 14 gigs. These you don't need to worry about. So, and then down here it gives you this nice little fancy graphical layout of what files are taking up the most space. And so if you kind of hover over this, you can see down at the bottom down here, it shows you the full path of what it is you're looking at. I don't usually focus too much on this bottom area. In fact, I will usually just kind of minimize it down. And it's kind of fun to look at, but overall, I don't find it that useful. What I do find useful is up here. It organizes these folders by which one is the largest. And most of the clients that I scan, typically the largest will be the users folder. The Windows folder will typically be between 16 and 25 gigabytes, depending on things you have installed, different Windows features, that kind of thing. So this one you don't need to worry about. As long as it's below 30 gigabytes, you're usually fine. If it's above 25 to 30, one of the things you can look for if you drill down into this is the temp folder. There's some other folders up here, but make sure that your temp folder, which is where temporary files are stored. Let's see if we can find it down here. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to be. Like I said, it's organizing this based on size. You'd want to go to Windows Temp, and you can delete whatever's in the temp folder if there's a lot of stuff in there. Most of the time you don't need to worry about it. Anyway, this allows you to drill down. So let's say you have a user folder. It's showing hundreds of gigs being used in the user folder. So you could actually select this, and then it would show you, again, sorted by size being used, which user folder is using up the most space. And it will list it at the top, and then you can drill down into that further, and then further, and keep going down until you find the folder that is taking up the most space. Typically under a user folder, you'll run into situations where the music folder, the pictures folder, the downloads folder will be taking up a lot of space. In a lot of situations, you'll have the app data folder will be taking up a lot of space, because this is where things like Google will store the profile folder, or your Outlook data folder will be file will be stored there. So it allows you to explore this folder structure and find those files and folders that are taking up a lot of space. And so in situations like this, you might be asking, like, well, what do I do with those once I find them? Most folders that are going to be taking up a lot of space are going to be the user dynamic folder. And at that point, you kind of have to decide, do I want to move this data off? How do I organize it better? Is it old data? Things like your downloads folder, your trash file, like your recycle bin, I should say, can be emptied. You just right click and empty the recycle bin. That'll free up a lot of space, because your recycle bin takes up space on your hard drive. And just to show you what I mean by this, let's go to the properties for the recycle bin. And as you can see, it's set to a custom size. It's told to take up 27,000 megabytes. And that translates to 27 gigabytes. Okay. You can select don't move files to the recycle bin. What this does is when you delete a file, it deletes it permanently. By default, when you delete a file, it flags it as being stored in the recycle bin. So it'll remove it from the folder structure. So let me show you real quick what I mean by this. Let's just go into the downloads folder. I have something in here. Let's just delete this file. So as you can see, it removes it here, but you saw up here, it now shows that there's trash in your recycle bin. And if you were to double click this and open your recycle bin, you'll see that this file is still here. That means it's still taking up space on the hard drive, but it's in the designated space for the recycle bin. So every once in a while, you want to go through and right click and empty that recycle bin. Don't use this as a storage. I've actually run into people who will delete stuff, but they don't ever empty the recycle bin, because they have this idea that, well, maybe I want to go back and undelete it. No, you need to get into the idea that if you delete something, it just needs to be gone, especially if you're dealing with very little hard drive space. I typically like to just put don't move files to recycle bin, just because when I delete something, I don't ever want to have to think about it again. Others, maybe you want to do is just set this to a smaller size. You set it to 10 gigabytes. Now, if you're going to delete something that is larger than the recycle bin, it'll warn you. It'll say this file is too big for the recycle bin. If you delete it, it will be permanently deleted. So it'll let you know. So with this program, Winderstat, and some of these tips on being able to go through and delete the temp folder. So let's show you real quick what I mean by temp folder. We're going to go into the file browser. We're going to go to the C drive. So I'll show you this, your Windows C drive. You're going to go to users, sorry, not users, go to Windows, and then we're going to hit the letter T on the keyboard, and it drops down to the first iteration of the word that starts with the letter T. We want to look for temps, which is right here. And it'll say you don't currently have permission. That's okay. Click continue. And as you can see, it shows that we have a lot of temp files in here. Now, most of these are not very big. And this is when I say most of the time you don't need to worry about this. But you do get situations where you may have some temporary Windows installation files and stuff like that that do accumulate. They will build up over time. And it's okay to delete whatever's in this folder. That's why it's called a temp folder. So if you want to delete whatever's in here, just do a Control-A, which will select everything in the folder, and then you can tap delete on your keyboard. None of the files were currently being used, and as you can see, it dropped everything into the recycle bin. I don't want them there, so we're going to come up here and select, right-click on the recycle bin and click Empty Recycle Bin. And yes, I'm going to confirm, delete the 68 items. And I recovered that space. If we were to look at the before and after, we probably would have seen like 460 gigs of free space, and now it shows 462 gigs of free space. So another thing you might want to consider, again, if you're running out of hard drive space and it's being taken up by, say, user dynamic data. And what I mean by that is like your pictures, your downloads, your video files, that kind of thing that gets stored over in here, your music folders. You might want to consider just backing it up and then removing it from the system drive. And when I say back it up, I mean go get an external hard drive. I would say minimum of 4 terabytes. I don't think it's very rare you find stuff that's less than 2 terabytes, but get something that's like 4 terabytes. And they connect up via a USB port. And then you can select, open up two windows like this. Open one on the external hard drive. Open one over here on your music, your pictures, whatever it is you want to back up. And you're just going to highlight those and drag and drop them. This will go through the process of making a copy of those on the external hard drive. Once that copy is done, you can delete the ones that you moved by just selecting them, hitting delete, and as you can see, it moves those back over into the recycle bin, and then you can empty the recycle bin. And that way you recover more space on your hard drive. I hope these tips helped and provide a little bit of usefulness in being able to manage the data on your computer. If you have questions, comments, other things you'd like to see tutorials on, please leave them in the comments. We'd love to see that. Like and subscribe our channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Copy is done, you can delete the ones that you moved by just selecting them, hitting delete, and as you can see, it moves those back over into the recycle bin, and then you can empty the recycle bin. And that way you recover more space on your hard drive. I hope these tips helped and provide a little bit of usefulness in being able to manage the data on your computer. If you have questions, comments, other things you'd like to see tutorials on, please leave them in the comments. We'd love to see that. Like and subscribe our channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.